not be outside during this storm. You need to be sheltering in place.
Hurricane Ian absolutely pummeling the state of Florida.
Ian continued to batter Florida.
Just got this footage in. It's pretty remarkable. A time-lapse video taken from a webcam in Fort Myers. Now, what you're watching is the storm surge rolling in, going down one street.
It's still dropping an incredible amount of rain in a very short amount of time there.
Wind speeds at 115 miles an hour. They were 150 when it came on shore right there. That was at about noon today. And
we know that storm surge was such a devastating factor in those communities that were right there on the coast.
Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a great video for you today. I just survived a hurricane. And I'm going to get into all that and how we handle disasters in prison as well. And a little bit more about this disaster as well. You're going to see Hurricane Ian in the state of Florida where I live. Before I get started, please check me out on YouTube member programs. Check me on Patreon. Check us out on all of our Discord, all the other stuff. Please check the book out, Gangster Redemption. Great read. Everybody's loving it. And of course, the crookeddiamondcigar.com. That's crookeddiamondcigar.com. And you can go to thatbenz.com/giveaway. We are pulling that thing Monday. Here it is Thursday morning, and I decided to do this video to the very end because I was surviving a hurricane. I'm gonna show you guys some footage of me last night in the middle of the night.
All right, we're in the storm. We got about 40-mile-an-hour winds coming through. The storm surge is what I'm worried about. I mean, the RV, and I'm gonna talk about the RV. The RV is back here, and the RV is sinking. It's sinking into the soft earth. That's the big problem we have here in Florida right now. We're so high above sea level. We're 14 feet above sea level, and that's it. And when your water saturates, we had 18 inches of rain. That's crazy. There it is. You're getting these big gusts that come through, and I'm like, what the, what's going on? So, my God. So,
I did not sleep. It is early in the morning. It is 7:21 in the morning. In the East Coast time. Hurricane is still just outside my door. It's pretty much gone. It's now a tropical depression, but it's a big flood disaster and it's crazy. You're gonna see some footage here that I took last night. About 30 to 40-mile-an-hour winds. Had some pretty good gusts that moved me a little bit. I'm a pretty big guy, so to move me, it takes a lot to begin with. Well, I'll tell you what, Hurricane Ian is now gonna be like the 4th highest wind strike of landing on the state of Florida. At 150 miles an hour wind, it was a Category 4 hurricane. It's number 4, and it is a disaster hurricane, and here is why. Because of the amount of water and rain it's producing, and the ground in the state of Florida is already saturated. So trees are down. Out here, I went all over. I had to check out my RV, make sure that's okay, which it is. I actually found that I do have a leak in the windshield, so I gotta fix that. But if that's all that happened, I'm in pretty good shape. You know, people gotta heed these warnings from officials with hurricanes and stuff, especially the storm surge, the water. I never worry about the wind. I mean, obviously you could put up some boards and you can handle that, and everybody thinks that's the end of it. It's the storm surge. I personally cannot put up shutters because I'm claustrophobic. The last hurricanes that happened in, I think it was 2017, and I was in Fort Lauderdale. And if you guys remember, I was on Facebook and I was live on the docks and I was helping people with their boats on the dock where I lived at the Falls of Marina Bay. And what happened was the complex there where I live made us put up shutters. They put them up, but they put up shutters. I mean that you would pitch. I got so bad on claustrophobia, I actually left during the middle of the hurricane, got in my car and went on 95 and I went up north. I just couldn't do it. And I get that thing. I never had that kind of issue in my life until after prison. So I'm gonna blame it on prison, but it is what it is. I survived these storms. I do prepare. I try to help as many people as I can in my neighborhood. I always try to do that, from young to old to everybody, because who knows what they need, whether it's sandbags, moving something, and I will tell you, I'm shot. But here it is. We are on Thursday morning, and you're getting this video obviously today, so we are doing it right to the last end. I told Darian we have to do it like that, because right out that door, right there, it's still somewhat pretty nasty. I mean, not as bad as it was last night or maybe even 3 hours ago, and it is crazy, people. So what happened was, it really got me thinking about how we survived hurricanes, tornadoes, disasters in the prison system, because they don't evacuate you. You don't get evacuated. I mean, there's many disasters that happen. In New Orleans, they left prisoners in there during that big thing when they flooded the whole town. And there's a whole documentary on that. And the prison system doesn't. How they do it in prison for disasters. And I'm gonna go right step by step. First of all, if you want a safe building to be in during a hurricane, as far as structural, the prison's not going anywhere. It's not a flimsily made house. Like, I hate to say this house is pretty flimsily made. This house was built in 1983, the house I live in now, and it's all pre-1992, which is the Hurricane Andrew, which hit South Florida. And I remember I actually used my horses and helped down there. Also went to jail during that thing. But what has happened is this house has no hurricane, all the codes that had to come from Hurricane Andrew, which was in 1992. This house was 10 years before that, 9 years before that, so it has none of that. But it survived again, and a lot of people saying it survived because of where we're at. Obviously, NASA's not idiots, and they put the Space Center where it is for a reason. Whether it's atmospheric pressures or whatever it does, moves these hurricanes. I've never seen one actually hit here to damage things. They had them in 2004, Faye and stuff of that nature. I was in prison, but they were pretty bad. But still, it wasn't like a disaster you're seeing today in Fort Myers. My heart goes out to all the people in Fort Myers. And it's a shame, because everybody knows I have my love place. I go to a place called Red Coconut about 4 times a year. It's an RV park that's literally on the Gulf of Mexico, where you drive your front 2 wheels on the sand. We got reports back that that place is destroyed. Now you got to remember, when I say destroyed, here is a campground. You go, how can you destroy a campground? It's just land. No. Not only does it have electric in there, it also has a sewer system. It has dump tanks or wells or septic systems in the ground for all the RVs to hook up to and empty their shit tanks. So we're hearing that they're all gone, and I mean, the disaster there is catastrophic, because they had a 7 foot, up to 7 foot. I'm hearing 5 to 7 feet of a storm surge. The last record before this was 3.5 feet of a storm surge. Now you got to remember, when I'm saying a storm surge, that means that's 3.5 feet off the ground. Imagine 7 feet where you can't even see, or 6 feet even, and it's going to blow you up. That's where you die. That's where people die. That's where cars go and they get taken out and washed away. Obviously, 3 foot, that does happen as well. It floats the car, and that's the end of that. But getting into disasters here, so we know we just had a disaster in Florida. We're pretty used to it. Governor DeSantis did the great job, I think, by actually getting everything ready. FEMA, everybody's ready. I'm not hearing anything bad. I know it's still going on. Even in Sarasota, there's something on the news this morning about they're back to normal. They're trying to pull what they call tickets of incidents. They had 500 incidents, and they're back up and running. So I got to give a lot of these agencies a lot of credit for their coordination and being up and ready to go on a disaster of this nature. And you know, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, there's no way you can say, oh, you messed it. How you messed this up is by ignoring it. And Governor DeSantis did not ignore it. And the state of Florida, I think, did pretty good. And they're pretty good with hurricanes. Now, I was in Coleman Prison in Central Florida. Now, I was there when they didn't have a hurricane, but we had severe weather. Here's what they do. They make everybody in the unit, first of all the people in the yard, there's a lot of people who work on a yard in prison. What I mean by work is they're assigned to the yard. You get assigned to work when you're in prison. You don't just get a free pass. Let me just let that known. So what happens is you're now assigned there. Now, when an order comes down from the warden or whoever does it to get everything off that yard, anything that could be a missile or a projectile, you have to look at this differently in a prison setting as you do in a civilian setting. Obviously, they have to have their water and their fuel and everything they're gonna need to keep the prison running. Remember, prisons are pretty self-contained. They have their own generator systems. It doesn't matter in prison, because in prison, you're gonna have your own generator system and you're gonna get up and running. But here's where they mess up. They need to get everything off the yard. They need to get all the stuff, whether it's, at that point, it was even benches. I remember moving stands like this, you know, whatever, the metal stand you'd see, you know, where you sit, bleachers, the metal bleachers. They would be moving those metal bleachers inside and actually strapping them down in one prison I was in. So they coordinate everybody on the rec yard to now take over everything there and go help departments around the prison secure for a hurricane or a tornado. The hardest thing the prisons had to deal with was a tornado, because they happen so quick. They don't even have time to recall sometimes. I mean, you know, when you recall 500 or 800, 1,000 inmates, that takes a process. You got to go through metal detectors. You got to go through multiple metal. You don't just walk from point A to point B. You have to go through a path and everything else that goes along with that. So it's a little bit harder to do that in the prison system, is recalling people. So they try to get ahead of it, but you can't get ahead of tornadoes. And you can get ahead of hurricanes. When I was in Florida, when I was in Georgia, we did prepare for hurricanes in every prison I was in. We did prepare for some kind of disaster. And I don't mean a false alarm. They ain't letting guys do drills and shit like that. That doesn't happen in prison. What happens in prison is you get orders to do what you're gonna do, and then here's what they do when it's about to hit. We usually lose power and it comes back on, but they lock all the inmates, not food service, everybody in that prison. When it's time for that hurricane or whatever it is to hit, they have their window, the whole prison is locked down. And I mean, you are locked in your cell. It's something to see, because, and it's not good at all, because obviously even pill lines get disrupted, and that's where people get their medications. They try to bring it to the units and stuff like that, but they're always fucking that up. That's all I'm gonna say. But it's a big process. So any disaster, you know, we didn't drill for things like fire. We did in prisons have a fire drill. Here was the drill. If the fire alarms went off, you had to get out of that unit. Just get out of that unit. And everybody would go over, come out of the unit and have to go on the grass in an area. They'd post a couple of guards. That's what they did. They post a couple of guards and the units would come out. I've actually seen fires in prison, and it's usually somebody setting a mattress on fire or something like that. But when that happens, it's an evacuation. It is a full-on evacuation of that unit. So that is going to happen, and that does happen. So you have evacuations, you have securing things, which is literally tying down bleachers. Everything you think could fly, awnings and everything else they have out, is gone. Rec is pretty much closed down, the recreation yard, even for walking. Believe it or not, they don't even let you go out before a hurricane to walk or anything like that. That is very important to understand, because they need to control where the prisoners are at all times. The minute chaos starts happening in a prison, somebody in that prison, and I mean the inmates, kind of watch this. And they either opportunists, so they're gonna hit it. I remember a guy trying to escape a a hurricane or a tropical storm, whatever it was in Atlanta, because it was recall and everything else, and people didn't know where they were going. And sure enough, this guy tried to go around the fence, because I remember him trying to take the links off to squeeze through the fence, and he did. I knew about that. And he went down under the guard tower. See, now there's guard towers going up. So now there's a guard tower. Now this guy has to go under the guard tower and try to scale a wall where the guard is not gonna see. That tower guard, his biggest concern and how he got caught is the other tower spotted him to that tower. That's how good they are. They have multiple towers around a prison like Atlanta. They probably had 8 to 10 gun towers around that prison. Prison's massive. And they're always manned. And as a matter of fact, you can't even get up into that. They actually lower the key down to get in the door to get up there in a bucket to the person down. Nobody has a key up there except obviously the warden or the head of security, like the captain, in case the guy died up there or something of that nature. But nobody can be taken hostage and open that gun tower door. Nobody can do that. But this disaster out that door, we just averted it, and I'm hoping it's the last one of the 2022 season. And what does Larry do? Larry always waits for the end of the season and then, okay, kind of get a little bit of a air out, because you know, hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff, they're not fun to go through. People die, people get hurt, people lose money, people don't have things covered, and then you see in person. I saw a trailer park ripped up in Fort Myers. Now, the reason I felt so bad about that is because obviously the people who live in trailer parks really don't have the funding to fix their trailers. You don't get 100% insurance on trailers. And if you paid a small amount for that trailer, and the prices of trailers today are crazy. So at this point, I feel really bad for those people, because they're gonna lose a lot of money. As long as they didn't lose their lives. Obviously, all trailer parks are mandatory evacuation. There's no, we request you evacuate, you know, mandatory. Mandatory means they could come in there and take you out of there. But they ripped up a trailer park pretty good in Fort Myers, so I did feel bad for them. We have them all over here, and I like them. I think they're a great place to live. I think it's affordable living. Say what you want. Oh, Larry, you know, you're bigger than a trailer. I don't buy that, everybody. I really don't. I'm not one of those kind of guys, that's for sure. I do what I do. I live with my mother in a wood frame house that's, since I put this room on it, is about 1,600 square feet. This room makes that about 1,600 square feet, this house. It's not a big house. I live here with my mother, that's it. And you know what? I enjoy taking care of my mother. I'll never regret that. I keep trying to make her come on the podcast or a video, and she won't do it. Man, she's tough. She's a tough old bird. But she was born in 1933. And here we are coming up in 2023. So next year, yeah, 2023, she's gonna be 90 years old in a few months. My mother, that's a disaster in itself, and the elderly. I gotta give it to the people. The coordination is pretty good. I don't know what happened in the prison system. Of course, that hurricane was going straight through Coleman, Florida. That's Coleman Prison, the biggest prison complex in the United States. Probably the biggest prison complex in the world. It's Coleman. They have 2 penitentiaries, a medium, a low, and a woman's camp. They have probably 10,000 or more inmates. In fact, one time they were going to put a airstrip there because they had so many transfers there, and this way the planes could land there. The planes used to have to land in Jacksonville, and then they would bus you. It's just the way they did it. As crazy as it sounds, that's the way they did it. But people, I'm wondering how they prepared. I have a feeling they prepared the right way. I don't think you could prepare much more than what we do prepare. Listen, natural disasters are nobody's fault, and it's nobody to blame. So let's get that out. There's no politics involved in this at all. What is involved in this is helping other people, and I hope you help somebody else. That's how natural disasters happen in prison. We watched one right outside my door right now. It was there. You've seen the footage. Well, thank your blessings if you weren't in it. If you were, I hope everything worked out. I still want to give my my good wishes to the people of Fort Myers because they got slammed. And with that said, listen, we got a couple of great videos coming up. I really just looked at them. And I have a GTA review that's going to be fun. That's coming up Sunday. Then I have another couple of shows and reviews I'm doing, the Tower Heist, and a couple other shows. So I think it's going to be interesting. I'm loving it. I love the Robbery Fails. I love the Ask Me Anythings. They're always in the lineup, so to speak. But, you know, it's crazy because I keep thinking it just got flooded with a bunch of stories I remember in prison. I'm not going to tell them now. I'll make a video on them, on a whole bunch of stuff that went down. So it's pretty crazy. The memories and the fights and the politicking in prison and how the guards manipulated people and how they got manipulated and stuff of that nature. And it just happens. It's part of the game. And I call it the game. I hope you don't. I hope you make good choices. I really do. And I hope you think long and hard before you do anything wrong. Because even a small record, could be a misdemeanor record, could damage you down the line. It is what it is. With that said, everybody, please make good choices. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Please hit that notification, the little bell. Hit that button for us. It means something. You'll know when we're uploading this video and any other video. So, have a great day, everybody. Make good choices, and I'll see you Sunday.